Hello and welcome to the final of the James Capel Speed Chess Challenge. Tonight's final pits Nigel Short with the white pieces against young Michael Adams from Truro in Cornwall, the young man who sensationally defeated John Spielman in the semi-final. Nigel Short, just 23 years old, is world ranked number 3, behind just the two great Russians, Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov. He has twice won the British Championship, and he is widely tipped as one of Britain's best hopes to wrest the world title from the Russians. Michael Adams, an international master, at 17 is the youngest player in the world with a Grandmaster result. His world ranking is number 100, but he is confidently expected to shoot up in the very near future. Well, I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag by saying that this game is a truly phenomenal clash. Gentlemen, good evening. Good evening. Nigel, you were white. Would you like to start taking us over the game?
Yes. Well, I opened with my traditional 1 e4.
Yeah, I decided to play my usual Caracan defence, starting with c6.
d4.
I did d5 to challenge in the centre.
And I brought my knight to c3, defending pawn on e4.
Pawn exchange.
Knight recaptures on e4.
Now I bring my knight to d7 in order to bring my other knight out to f6.
This is one of your favourite variations, Michael.
Yeah, so I play it quite a lot.
I seem to remember that you used it to beat Grandmaster Murray Chandler in the final round of the Lloyds Bank Masters last year.
That's right, yeah.
And that got you first prize in the tournament.
That's correct, yeah.
Yes, this is also a variation which John Spielman has played many times over the years. And I, of course, prepared one or two things in my recent match against him. And one of the lines I looked at was this aggressive line with bishop to c4.
Black continues with his plan, bringing out the knight on the king side.
Challenging the white knight on e4.
Yeah, and now I played a very unnatural looking move, knight to g5, and this move looks extremely artificial because I've already moved the knight 3 times in the opening. And, well, of course my threat is obvious. Bishop takes f7 mate. Black will defend against this with e6. And then I hope to use the time to prepare a quick queenside castling.
After this move, Black often has problems with his light squared bishop, which is difficult to develop
Bit
in a
hemmed in.
satisfactory matter.
Yes,
Yeah,
the black bishop on the queen side is rather restricted by the pawns.
Yeah.
And white, I brought my queen to e2, threatening a sacrifice with knight takes f7, king takes f7, and queen takes e6, check.
Which is absolutely devastating.
Which is, yes, would force mate in a very few moves. But all this has been seen before, and Michael defended against it.
Normal move, so the bishop can cover the e6 pawn.
And of course, to have any advantage, I must preserve my bishop on c4, so I dropped it back to b3.
Now Black can take the opportunity of driving the white knight away from g5.
Yeah.
h6.
Yeah, but perhaps we should mention here a small variation involving, this is a book trap. If instead of h6, Black takes this undefended pawn on d4, White brings out the knight to f3, the queen retreats to some square, for example d8, and then White would bring up his knight to e5 with a terrible threat to destroy the black pawn position like this.
Not just terrible, unstoppable. So black,
Yes.
in fact, never takes the pawn.
That's right. That's why he played h6. And the knight comes back to f3.
Yeah, now black takes the opportunity to challenge the d4 pawn, playing c5.
c3. This is a very, very strange opening. I mean, both sides have wasted a lot of time. It's a question of, who has the worst position here, rather than the better position.
I didn't like your next move, Michael. I thought you might perhaps put the queen on c7, because it seems to me that the disadvantage of the white position is that the white knight on g1 is rather hard to develop to a good square. And your next move, which was to take off on d4, allows white to recapture with the knight. And then the knight on g1 has a good square to come out to.
That's right.
I didn't really foresee the problems here. I was more expecting a recapture with the c pawn.
Let's just go back to the position where I suggested queen c7. I felt that if you played queen c7, you kept the knight on g1 under lock and key for a bit longer.
Yes, this is possible. Yes, in fact, I'm sure that taking on d4 has to be wrong in this position, because it liberates my game, and as we'll see in a minute, that white developed a very strong attacking position.
Mm-hmm. So what happened?
Pawn captures on d4. Most quiet development, but it's much easier for white now to post his pieces on very strong squares.
That's right. Knight.
The problem of this bishop, which I mentioned
The bishop
earlier.
on c8.
Bishop on
yes.
c8.
Difficult to get into the game.
Yeah. Castled.
And white develops too.
The bishop develops to d7. It's a bit of a miserable square for the bishop.
Yes.
It really is.
Yes.
Very little
I was
scope.
beginning to think that you were in terrible trouble here, especially after Nigel's next move, which looks really very threatening indeed.
Yes. Actually, with hindsight, then maybe my next move was not the best. Perhaps it's possible for white to play his rook to the d file, which gives black some problems with his queen. His queen would have to move away to c8. I'm not sure about this. The move I played was also a very attractive.
Very tempting move,
Yes,
yes.
knight to e5.
Yes, two cavalry divisions stuck in the centre there,
Yes.
on d4 and e5.
Yeah, I feel that black's only move here, virtually, is to try the move I played in the game, to try and exchange off these light squared bishops. If black remains passive, then his position is going to be completely overwhelmed.
Yes, bishop a4 struck me as rather a good move, actually.
Well, yes, I think actually it was a good move, but it's a move that's somehow slightly lucky, because Michael played this very quickly, and this is a very dangerous thing to do, because it could just lose instantaneously. White is a very threatening position with his knights in the centre, and there are numerous possibilities. For example, knight takes e6. Black would have to recapture. Bishop takes e6, check. And now black must be very careful where he puts his king. It must go to the square h7. If the king comes to h8, then this loses to knight g6 check, king to h7, and knight takes e7. And black cannot retake this knight, because he would lose his queen then to a discovered attack with bishop to f5 check,
That's a wonderful variation.
followed by queen,
Yes.
queen takes queen.
Fantastic variation.
So this is just to illustrate how very dangerous black's position is, because he's on the verge of a catastrophe here. After bishop e6 check, king h7 is possible, and if, for example, I give a check on f5, then the king would have to go back to g8, And you see, I can force a draw here, but unfortunately, I don't believe I have more than a draw.
Right. So black's skating on thin ice, but it hasn't quite cracked.
Yes, that's right. And in fact, this move, bishop a4, is probably a very good one. So, having examined these continuations for a few minutes, then I decided to just play a very simple, logical, developing move. Bishop to f4.
And I was very impressed now, Michael, with the fact that you played your next move almost instantly. And I would have expected you to trade off this bishop here, and then probably white takes back with the a-pawn. Something of that nature.
That's right.
Just to get rid of this dangerous attacking piece, the bishop on b3. But you played your next move almost without thinking. Just queen c8 at once.
Yeah, I have to. I was slightly fortunate here. Though I saw some of the variations in the last example here, I didn't really observe white's next manoeuvre at all. Otherwise, I might not have played it so fast.
Yes, it certainly seems to be playing with fire, playing a move like queen c8.
Yes.
You're playing it almost without thinking, seems to be playing with dynamite.
So
Jumping around with dynamite sticks when there's a raging fire going on. It's really a dangerous move. I'm amazed that you survived the next few moves.
Well, I couldn't believe it when I saw this move being played so quickly, because I was sure that this move ought to lose immediately.
Yeah.
And I calculated the following variation, after which I thought I was winning by force. However, I think I was wrong. I played knight to g6. This is the beginning of the combination. Now, the black cannot take on g6 because this allows the crushing move. Bishop takes e6 check.
Winning the house.
Yes, winning forcing the win of the queen. So black's next move is forced.
Absolutely, I must defend the rook and the bishop.
Had you seen knight g6 coming, Michael?
I missed knight g6 totally.
Right.
And played knight takes e7 check.
But after knight g6, I did observe the rest of the combination at that stage.
And now I brought my knight to f5.
Which of course can't be captured.
Which of course can't be captured, because after pawn takes knight, queen takes rook, wins material.
So black's next move is obligatory.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I can't retreat the rook to e8 because then
the
knight
knight
d6
comes in with the
Devastating.
rook and queen.
yeah. So this is
And
quite sort
Rook
of
d7.
somehow
only
this
move.
is quite accidental, because all black's moves are forced at this point, but they seem to be good moves. And now I played a diversionary move. Bishop takes a4, just luring the black knight onto an exposed square. And this was the whole point of my combination, having put black's pieces on, lured them away from the king's side, then sacrificed on g7, exposing the black king.
Yes, this really looked as if black was being mangled here to the spectators, I must say. It looked as if black was really on his last legs, with the king's side being destroyed by this very dynamic sacrifice, which of course you must accept.
Yeah, absolutely.
No
I have
choice.
to take this.
And now the point of the combination.
Point of the combination is this very nasty pin with bishop e5. The move king to g6, getting out of this pin, is met by queen to c2 check.
And bang goes the knight.
Yes, the king moves back and the knight on a4 is captured. So
Absolutely.
both
Now threatening queen g4 checking.
now threatening the queen to g4
Yes.
check. So both black's knights are in a bit of trouble.
So black really, Michael, you really had to find some brilliant defensive moves now to avoid going straight under.
Absolutely.
I was very impressed by the
There
way
is
you
only
defended this position now.
absolutely only one continuation for black here,
Mm.
because both knights are so loose.
Mm-hmm. So what did you play?
So I played queen c6.
Right.
Yeah. And this is an excellent defensive move. Without this, black is totally busted. But it suddenly dawned on me after this move that my position, far from being winning, was probably not even better at all.
Which is amazing, because
yes.
you've been playing all these aggressive moves. Black's been playing rather passively and clinging to the edge.
Yes.
And in a few moves, Black has this rather alarming counterattack.
Yes. So, having given up some material, I thought it might be an idea to win it back before it ran away. Queen G4 check.
King H7 is forced.
Threatening mate in 1.
On
And
G7.
Yes, Queen to G7 check. And now we see the counter-attack.
Again, Black's move's absolutely forced. G8.
And then suddenly this is very uncomfortable for me. I have to move my attacked queen, and also I have to protect against the mate on the G2 square.
So, for example, you can't move the queen over to the queen side.
That's right. Yeah, I can't move my queen to, for example, B4, because queen takes G2 mate would be the end of things. So, Queen H3 is absolutely forced.
You're lucky that this move, this diversion move, isn't strong.
Yes, this is met
Not strong.
by
Queen HD3,
which is
check.
Which is check.
Yeah. If it weren't for the fact that it was check, it would be deep trouble.
Yes. Well, I could also play G3. But
Yes. And Black's pieces would then be hyperactive.
yes, that's right. That's right.
So it's best for Black here simply to retake the pawn on B2.
Yes.
This is very nice for Black now, because his knight now is a good square on C4, where it can't be harassed by any white pawns.
Yes, in fact, Black is also, apart from, there's the possibility of slight accidents around the king's field, but when the knight gets back into the centre, it's got this fantastic square, and also White's pawns on the queen side of the endgame are rather weak.
Yes, yes, it's very bad. Okay, bishop came back to D4, which is very important for me to shut out Black's rook on the D file.
Now, I replied rook G6 here. I was considering moves such as knight D3 here, but again, White can take this knight with check.
Yes.
So rook G6 to close this diagonal for the white queen.
And disliking my positions somewhat, I decided that I had to really play aggressively in this position, because I sensed that if I played passively, then Black would gain control of the position and gradually storm all over me. So I played F4, hoping to gain an attack with bringing the pawn up to F5.
And you blocked that, Michael, right?
That's right, yeah. I think one possibility is to play F6, followed by bringing the rook over to the G file. But I was concerned about F5.
Yes.
So
you
Yes.
blocked it.
I blocked with F5
Right.
immediately.
And Nigel?
And now I brought the rook to F3, swinging with the idea of swinging it over to G3 and reducing some of the pressure.
Now I replied Queen E4 with possibilities of sacrificing the exchange on D4.
Yes, you're threatening rook takes D4 in some
Yeah.
positions. Now, really, Nigel, you've got to throw material
That's
overboard
right.
to
That's
beat off
right.
the counterattack.
I was very worried, so I played rook E3.
And you took the pawn in F4, Michael?
That's right. There's
Right.
no reason not to.
And then...
I doubled my rooks on this weak E pawn.
And you brought the queen back to defend it. So now
Queen
Black's a pawn up.
D6 to defend
And now
the
we
pawn
come
on
to
E6.
what's really the crisis of the game, the absolute dynamic moment of the game, where White's a pawn down.
Yes.
And you now watch this amazing combination, Nigel.
Yeah. Rook takes E6.
Fantastic move.
Only move in this position.
This came as quite a shock to me, because I'd anticipated the move, but I thought it was easily winning for Black.
Queen takes F5 check, which forces the next move.
Rook G6 is
Rook to
forced.
G6.
So now Black's a rook up.
Well, he's a rook up, and I played the quiet little move, H4.
Yeah, this is the unpleasant point that White's now threatening H5, and the rook
Winning
on
the rook
G6
back.
is pinned to the king.
Yes. So White's a rook down, but he's played this fantastic combination, and he's trying to get the rook back and break up your kingside. So what did you do?
I went rook E7.
Yes.
Yes, the idea of this is that if I exchange the rook on e7, black recaptures on e7, and then if I play h5, seemingly winning back some material, black plays queen e1 check, king goes to h2, queen to g3 check, king g1, queen takes g2
Checkmate.
is made.
Another wonderful variation. And this is really a game full of fantastic, brilliant ideas by both players.
So if you'll excuse my immodesty, I now played what I think was a
This is
rather
absolutely brilliant.
a rather a
here.
special
Yes,
move.
no, we let you off this one. Nigel. This is an amazingly good move,
Yes, I played rook to e2.
which of course can't be taken.
The point about this move is after rook takes e2, white can play queen f7 check,
and with mate next
followed by
move.
mate next go.
So now I'm still
Truly amazing.
threatening the move h5, and black has to react very quickly with queen d7.
And queen d7, try and move the white queen from this diagonal.
I make an aggressive move with queen f8, threatening to give checkmate on h8, still not giving black time to defend his
Unravel.
position. Yes.
There's one possibility here is queen takes d4, pawn recaptures, rook takes e2.
But then,
Over in
White-
this position, white has perpetual
This
check,
is a draw. Probably.
yes,
as
that's
black's
right.
king is so exposed.
Yeah. So,
Instead I blocked on g7, rook g7.
and now we see the point of the rook going to e2, or one of the many points of the rook going to e2. The rook defends my g-pawn, and also it attacks the knight on b2, which I duly removed.
So now you've got a bishop for a rook and also a pawn,
A pawn,
and you've got fantastic compensation.
and still some attack, yes.
So what happened now, Michael?
Applied rook g8,
Right.
defending my attack rook.
And these moves now are played in a tremendous time scale. Both players very short of time, and the moves coming extremely
Yeah.
quickly.
Absolutely. Queen
Queen-
f3,
Threatening rook takes b7,
b6,
You stopped it.
defends the
stopped
pawn.
it. h5, attacking the rook.
Rook g5. So
And
I
this
can
is
block
the-
a queen d3 check by
Yes.
queen f5.
I play my rook to f2, threatening again to play queen d3 check, which is a really killing check.
Very difficult to fend off all these threats. Michael did very well not to get completely crushed.
That's
in it.
right. That's right.
Go,
All,
rook
all,
e8.
all these moves are forced here.
Absolutely wonderful
king a
play
square on
with no,
g8.
no time on the clock, and
Yes.
brilliant play by both sides in such terrible time trouble.
Right. And now I get check on d3,
King g8 is forced.
and the rook came up to f6, threatening to give a nasty check on g6.
Rook goes to e6, defend
Parrying that threat.
6th rank.
Yeah, and now probably the logical conclusion to the game would be for white to play the queen to f3, and after takes, queen would go to g4, and white would give a series of checks, and the game would be a draw. But I now made some attempts to lose, but all these moves were played in terrible time trouble.
Yes.
Queen to
D3.
c4
Rook d5.
Rook d5,
is
just block the
forced.
pin on the rook.
Yes. Rook
Check.
came to g6 check,
Takes
takes,
g6.
takes, and now I have a pass pawn, which can be uncomfortable.
I played b5, drive away the right queen.
I maintained the pin on the black rook. The queen
No,
came
you-
to e6.
E6 now.
Yes. And now I played my queen back to b1. Now probably around this point, black had better moves.
I
But
played
it was
a6.
so little time now, it's hard to say. Actually, you played rook g5 here,
Yes, that's right.
and white saved his pawn.
White, yeah.
Now you played
No,
a6,
a6.
and then white brings the queen back to f1.
Threatening queen to f8 check. And
This threat's so strong, in fact, that you now gave back the rook.
not immediately.
No?
First he played
Oh,
queen
queen
to-
e7, that's
to
right.
e7.
Yes. Right.
To prevent that, I played my queen to f2, threatening bishop to f6. And at this point, Michael decided to liquidate into a drawn queen and pawn ending. It went rook takes g7, bishop takes, and king takes
And you gave a
g7.
check on
and
g3.
I gave it a check on g3,
And the king went to h7.
and this was a draw.
And this is where the draw was
Yeah,
agreed.
yeah.
Three
Both
pawns
kings
each.
are too exposed
it's a draw
rather
position.
there to play for a win.
Well, incredible game, and played so brilliantly and accurately on both sides with such little time. Absolutely amazing game. A truly wonderful clash of ideas. Easily the best game played in this tournament, and probably the best speed chess game I've ever seen. Well, anyway, this game in the final was drawn. The incredible news is that Nigel Short and Michael Adams reached near total deadlock after a marathon series of 4 Blitz playoffs. I'm now joining former US champion Larry Evans to comment, as it happens, on the 5th Blitz playoff. And here we continue this marathon final of the James Capel Speed Chess Challenge. An absolutely new opening, French defence by Nigel Short. He hasn't played this before in this playoff. Tarrasch variation. Out comes the Black Knight, centre cleared of pawns. Open e-file, another exchange. Bishop takes. Bishop to d3. No, knight up to f6. White castles and black castles. Knight to b3, taking the bishop. This isn't a terribly sophisticated way to play the opening, actually, for White, is it, Larry? I think White's lost a tempo on the main line. He's taken on c5 too early.
Yes, Black may now play bishop to g4, pinning the knight.
Now
Didn't
he's
do
played
it.
knight to e4. Knight's very good on e4. Knight to d4, blocking the action of the black bishop. But White's got nothing out of this opening at all. Black is doing very well from the opening. Knight into e5.
Yes, Black is a very active game.
Yes, excellent position for the black pieces. Very active game for black. And the white bishop drops back. Strange move, bishop d7. I didn't expect that. It seems a little bit passive.
Now, the long-range weakness that Black had is that d-pawn at d5.
Yes.
That's called an isolated pawn, the isolani.
Rook e1, threatening bishop takes knight on e4. Very aggressive move. Queen to h4, threatening queen takes pawn on f2 check with absolute devastation. So White's got to weaken his kingside here to drive away that queen. Black is doing fine out of the opening. Absolutely fine. Excellent position for black. Very active indeed. Pawn to g3. Queen into h3. White's position is looking very critical indeed.
White is weak on those light squares on the king side.
That's right.
Bishop is now threatening to come to g4. It looks like a martial attack, except Black hasn't sacrificed a pawn to get the position.
That's right. Frank Marshall, the famous US Grandmaster, beginning of the century, invented a gambit in the Roy Lopez opening. And this position looks exactly like that, but as Larry Evans pointed out, Black hasn't had to gambit the pawn. Very bold play.
Now, knight
Knight takes pawn must be very strong indeed.
If knight takes pawn, then rook takes e5. Maybe
Oh,
the
that's his idea.
That's the idea.
But it's hard to believe here that Black doesn't have some really strong move. I mean, even sacrificing a knight by playing pawn on f7 to f5 is not stupid. Another move is bishop to g4, another piece sacrifice to meet f takes g4 with knight takes g4, ganging up the pieces around the white king. Adams quite short of time already. He's been playing much more slowly. Over comes the black rook.
If the pawn takes the knight, then he will play bishop to g4, followed by knight to f3 check.
Yes, this looks terribly strong. Bishop f4. Well, Black has a tremendously powerful position here. Tremendously powerful position. Larry, what do you think? What can white survive this holocaust?
Well, what is black going to play here? That's knight to g6, possibly.
Yes, then perhaps white could take the knight on e4. Yes, he's sacrificing the knight. Very natural thing to do. Giving up a piece to open up the f-file for further attacks. And now surely Adams must take off one of the pieces. Yes, pawn takes knight. Pawn takes back. Horrible threat of bishop g4. Bishop takes. Rook takes back. Black's a piece down, but with a terrible attack on the king side. Rook up. And now threatening to push the pawn. White queen comes in. This is not looking as convincing as it was a couple of minutes ago.
Black doesn't have enough compensation for the
No,
piece.
suddenly white is better again. Rook across to g5. Queen offering the trade.
Queen back to h5, probably.
Yes, queen to h6 in fact.
Threatening bishop to h3.
Yes. Rook to f4. Bishop attacks rook. Not clear where he should put the rook. Maybe he just leave the rook where it is and play the other rook over to f1.
Or maybe rook to h4.
Only one pawn for this piece.
Giving him.
Yes,
yeah.
he's done what I thought he would. Bishop in. Queen moves. Black has a choice of rooks to take. He's taken the one on f1. Rook takes back.
Now maybe bishop
Takes
takes
g3. Yes, this could be very strong. This game, like all the other games between these two, is lurching backwards and forwards.
He'll take it, but
Yes, he's
Is it
taking it.
enough?
Bishop takes.
check, king to f2, queen to h2, check, king to e1. He might be able to escape to the queen side. Maybe just run
Well,
away
I-
to fight another day.
I think he must take that. What else can he do
Yeah, he
apart from...
takes it, and then when he checks, king to f2.
Yes.
I think the king can hide by running to the other wing
Well,
for
this is
safety.
another tremendously exciting game between these two. Advantage swinging backwards and forwards. Pawn takes bishop, rook takes pawn check. King f2, as you said. Attacking the rook. Queen to h4. Oh, that's a sneaky move. King e1.
Now he wins
Black can
the
win the queen. Check from the queen. King away. Rook takes queen. Knight takes. Now black must be better now. Rook away. No, black must have a huge advantage now. So the passed pawns on the king side.
Yes, all those pawns.
Now, I've said so many times in these games that it must be over, but this really does look as if it ought to be over. Black's position is overwhelming. White has three pieces, two knights and a bishop for the black queen, but black has two connected passed pawns on the king side. Two connected passed pawns. Bishop takes pawn. Pawn up. So difficult for white to coordinate his pieces. This looks like desperation. And black can really just start advancing his pawns. Here they come on the king side, the pawns. White's king runs away. Rook in. King away. Queen in, threatening rook takes knight. Rook e1, very passive indeed. Now these pawns must advance. No, first queen attacks bishop. Bishop drops back. And
Those-
on come the pawns.
Those kingside pawns are deadly.
Yes.